It's time to act. It's time to get social value ready. So what is this change coming to the way that we will all do business? Remember these Bitcoins, congestion charge, ultra low emission zones, ISO, all now firmly embedded in our lives. But go back a year before you'd heard of them, and that's where we are with social value now. Very few people have heard about it, but it is soon to become embedded in the way we do business and in all our business lives. So what is driving this great change? Well, it's this pretty innocuous looking document here, the Procurement Act 2023, which was given royal assent on the 26th of October 2023 and is set to become law this October in 2024. And innocuous looking as it may be, it drives how the national government and local authorities spend £400 billion in public spending or public procurement. But we have to go back 12 years to the act that had real teeth, the Public Services Social Value Act 2012, which is an act that requires public authorities to explicitly evaluate social, economic, and environmental well-being in connection with public service contracts. So now let us look at the international trade agreements after Brexit, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, and also the World Trade Organization's agreement on government procurement now gives all British SMEs unfettered and equal access to 1.3 trillion of the procurement spend by governments overseas. But here's the kicker, it's a two-way street, and it also gives the overseas companies fair and unfettered access to all the British government's contracts. But let's go back to 1992 when the United Nations first wrote their 17 Sustainable Development Goals, from which our Social Values 2012 Act was created. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals included social aspects, economic aspects, and environmental aspects. And back in 1992, they wanted them all achieved by 2030, which is 5 years away. But let us get a clear understanding of what social value really is. It is the extent to which an organization positively impacts its community by social, economic, and environmental aspects, the same three aspects created back in 1992, which they called back then the 3 pillars. We still refer to them now. And well-being is how an organization demonstrates its commitment to the well-being of its workforce and of its wider social and business communities. But what does social value actually look like? We talk about your core deliverables, and that is the goods, products, service that you provide, whether it's community care, medical care, construction, corporate hospitality, IT, computers, or a service industry, marketing, sales training. They are what you deliver. And listed here are what delivered social value really looks like within your company or under a contract. And I suggest you pause the video and ask yourself, are any of these 8 themes that the government is asking you to achieve in your business really that unfair or unreasonable? Pause the video now and take a good look at them. One of the metrics that the government will score the quality of your social value, both within your business and under any contract, is your understanding of your supply chains. It causes enormous complications and expense when a member of a supply chain collapses and goes into liquidation. Business is an ecosystem of connected supply chains, and every business is both a supplier and a client, with the money flowing down from the government and corporations through their countless connected supply chains. Pause the video to take a closer look. Now, you're all business people, so you all know the temple's mnemonic to see what's coming over the horizon. When one thing changes, it's bad enough, but the seismic change that social value brings a political change for 2 years discussing it in Parliament. and then a legal change when the law changes in October 24. There's a technological change when the whole procurement system goes online, and that leaves us with the three pillars: the social changes, the economic changes, and the environmental changes. The only thing that doesn't change, because it changes all the time, is the media. But social value is not new. Some of the biggest, most successful corporations in the world embedded it many years ago. But what is new is the impact on businesses who ignore it or embrace it. So let us take a look at these large businesses. 8,100 employing 250 people to over 1,000, and in some cases over 20,000. But what of the SMEs? 36,900 medium businesses employing 51 to 250. But how many small SMEs do you think there are in the UK? Well, there it is. Over 5.5 million small businesses in the UK. But how does that break down as a percentage of employees? Around 40% large businesses, 13% in medium businesses, and virtually half of the UK workforce working in small businesses, which adds up with the medium businesses to create the SMEs to a whopping 60% of the working population of the UK, which is exactly why the government has set aside 1/3 of its procurement budget of £100 billion after the catastrophic collapse of Carillion, with a £7 billion debt. Focus on startups, scale-ups and SMEs, giving them easier and a much simplified way of bidding for their contracts. The biggest factor in today's bids are what we call MEET, the most economically advantageous tender. However, the biggest factor in future bids will be the most advantageous tender, because it must include social value and well-being, which will be explicitly evaluated by all governmental procurement officers. Embedding social value in your business will help you to retain your existing clients and ensure that your work pipeline does not get turned off. The biggest difference in all future governmental bids, of course, will be social value. Ignoring social value in your business will leave you prey to social value ready predators, both UK and globally. And what price these huge growth opportunities? What will it actually cost your business? It will cost you the time it takes to create your social value policy. The days of a bid being evaluated on quality and price alone are long gone. Procurers from both the public and private sectors will now be looking for high quality social value and well-being responses over a much wider range of areas in all contract bids. At its heart, 50% of your entire social value policy is about the well-being of your workforce. And this is why, as we tour the country talking to businesses about social value, this is the slide that both informs and shocks them the most. It is the mental state of our nation, where 17% of adults experience a common mental disorder. 3.58 million adults accessed NHS mental health services in 2023. The NHS spends 16 billion, that's 14% of its budget, on mental health services. And of course, our future generations, the people we're going to recruit to take over from us, around 20% of them had a mental health condition in 2023. So back in 2021, the HM Treasury published guidelines to well-being in business and urged businesses to help tackle the mental health crisis and ensure the well-being of the English workforce. So why invest in social value? Well, don't take our word for it or the government's. 49% of people believe that companies that do not prioritize social value do not care. That's from Harvard Business School. 79% of investors say social values are vital in their investment decision making. So if you want to raise some funds, the investors want you to embed social value. 78% of senior executives agree strong social performance contributes to organizational value. That's the value of your business, and that's from Harvard. And businesses with social purpose, beyond just making money, outperform the market by a factor of 14. Deloitte records 42% higher levels of workforce retention than their competitors when social purpose driven. And 40% of millennials are ready to take a pay cut to work for an environmentally responsible company, and 70% of them would not work for a company without a strong social purpose, with 89% of executives believing that a strong social purpose provides competitive advantage. So I will leave you with an extract from the government's green paper, Transforming Public Procurement. We want to send a clear message that public sector procurement teams do not have to select the lowest price bid, and that in setting the procurement strategy, drafting the contract terms, and evaluating tenders, that can and should take a broad view of value for money that includes social value and well-being. This is the change that is coming to the way we all do business. It is time for you to act. It is time for you to get social value ready.